So I went off a Harley Davidson. My bike hit sand, threw me up and over, hit the curb, it split my skull wide open to there, knocked a hole in it that big.
The video you're about to watch was one of the most difficult ones I ever made. Gary Busey, an Oscar-nominated actor from the late 70s through the 90s, was known for his charisma, intensity, and unforgettable performances. But what happened to him after a near-death experience changed everything, and not always for the better. The man who once brought larger-than-life characters to the screen had since walked a much darker path. Tonight we ask, did he really glimpse the other side, or did his injury and choices pull him into something far more troubling? Gary Busey was born in Goose Creek, Texas in 1944 and raised in Oklahoma. He had been once a promising college football player until a knee injury ended that dream. He turned to acting and music instead, grinding his way into the industry. His big break came with a Buddy Holly story in 1978. Busey didn't just play Holly, he sang every song himself. The role earned him an Academy Award nomination and catapulted him into stardom. He followed with unforgettable roles: the psychotic Mr. Joshua in Lethal Weapon, the ruthless Commander Krill in Under Siege, and appearances in cult favorites like Point Break.
It's time for lunch.
On screen, he was magnetic, intense, unpredictable, and often menacing. Off-screen, he was eccentric, wild, and larger than life. By the late 80s, Gary Busey was at the peak of his career. But then came the day that nearly ended it all. December 4th, 1988, late afternoon in Los Angeles, Gary Busey was riding his Harley Davidson without a helmet. Accounts differed on exactly what happened. Some said he tried to pass a bus. Others claimed a car swerved in front of him. What was certain was that his bike hit a patch of sand, skidded, and threw him violently over the handlebars. He struck the pavement head first. A police officer was standing right there and rushed to the scene as Busey lay bleeding. Paramedics arrived quickly, stabilized him, and raced him to the hospital. Doctors found a fractured skull and severe brain trauma. They wheeled him straight into surgery. On the table, his vitals faltered. For hours, he hovered between life and death. Friends later admitted they weren't sure he would survive that night. He did, but he was no longer the same man. Gary Busey later claimed that as his body lay on the table, his consciousness broke free. He described floating above the operating room, watching doctors work frantically, before slipping into what he called a realm of light. There, he said, he met beings of pure energy, spirits that communicated not with words, but directly into his mind. They filled him with feelings of trust, love, and protection. They told him that the purpose of life was simple: to learn, love, and to make each other better. But that wasn't all. In other retellings, Busey insisted he had seen the Grim Reaper himself, proof to him that death was real and waiting. He claimed he was given a choice: remain in that realm of peace or return to his broken body. He chose to come back. And when he awoke, he said he carried with him the unshakable conviction that the soul was real.
And I have a different way of looking at things and feeling things, and I know how special life is.
That love was the point of existence, that he had been spared for a reason. But there's another side to his story. Busey's story never changed. He repeated it word for word, gesture for gesture, like a script. Some found it moving. Others thought it sounded rehearsed, more like a performance than a memory.
I died after brain surgery. I quit living and went to the spiritual realm of supernatural, surrounded by angels. Because I have been in the spiritual zone, in the supernatural, surrounded by angels.
And Busey himself admitted something that skeptics seized upon. After the accident, he had been under what he called 12 layers of drugs, a cocktail of anesthetics, sedatives, and painkillers.
And at one time they had me under 12 layers of drugs.
Doctors explained that the crash left him with permanent frontal lobe damage, the part of the brain that controls personality, impulse, and judgment. Such trauma, combined with oxygen deprivation and heavy medication, could easily create visions that felt divine. Lights, presences, even the Grim Reaper, hallucinations stitched together by a wounded, medicated brain. So was it heaven? Or just chemistry and injury playing tricks? Gary Busey's testimony was consistent, almost too consistent.
It's this long and about that wide. That's your essence. And your soul is housed in the column of your spine.
I was this long and that wide, and that's your soul. And your soul is housed in the column of your spine. And I was this long and that wide, that's your soul. And your soul is housed in the column of your spine. 12 inches long and about 1/4 of an inch wide, and that is your soul. And your soul is housed in the column of your spine.
He delivered it like an actor on stage, hitting the same dramatic beats, even exaggerating with tics and affectations. That, to many, made his credibility questionable. He swore the experience transformed him, that he met Christ, that he was filled with truth and love. But his life after the accident told a more complicated story. In 2025, stemming from an incident at a New Jersey fan convention, Busey pleaded guilty to criminal sexual contact after admitting he intentionally touched the woman inappropriately. Other charges were dropped, but the stain remained. For someone who claimed to have glimpsed the afterlife, who said he returned reborn with love and light, the contradiction was glaring. So how believable was Gary Busey's near-death story? Did he really step beyond the veil of life and meet God? Or were his visions the product of trauma, drugs, and a performer's instinct to dramatize? You be the judge. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this.